what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, haunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read. That the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
How can I pledge allegiance to a country built on lies? Or raise my children to believe they're equal?
Well, welcome back to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Elson, in studio with my co-hosts, my sister and brothers from another. Helen here to my right, and the Rhodes Scholar is there sitting. And folks, get a little over there. Yeah. You have the camera on there. It's not Dr. Bradley. It's the Rhodes Scholar. Dr. Bradley is going to be away for a couple of weeks there, so
taking care of his family.
Taking care of his family. Yeah, taking care of business. Listen, family first. So I'm not mad at him. So I want to thank our sponsor, the Money Store, for all your mortgage needs. Give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. Also want to thank the Cruz Construction for their continued support, as well as the MAMLEO membership, because without them, there is no us. And also, Pastor Hobbs, sir, if you wouldn't mind letting folks know about the fundraiser.
Yes.
Absolutely. So tomorrow, February 22nd, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., right here on Boston Praise Radio and TV, we're having a telethon to raise money for the station. Yeah. So we encourage people to tune in and to support it via $ capital BPRTV Cash App.
One more time, because you don't have to wait till tomorrow to make your donation.
Absolutely. $ capital BPRTV.
Yep.
Right.
If you like your education that you get here on a regular basis at the radio station, Cash App $BPRTV.
And folks, part of what we're trying to do here is move this to not just Saturday, but to have a regular conversation Monday through Friday.
People need to know what's going on.
Absolutely. We perish from lack of knowledge, and I think we've highlighted quite a bit of that in the last hour. So again, folks, if you want to make a donation to something worthwhile, we spend money on things that there's no return. You do get a return on your investment if you invest in Boston Praise Radio. This is not going to the MAMLEO broadcast. This is going to support this station.
Everyone else.
We're helping to support to make sure that these airways continue, because when you hear that silence, it won't be because, unlike politicians, that they just ignore you. It is because it costs to run a station. Yeah. And folks, we need your support. And you see, even like some of the NPR, they're all, they do it even when they were getting federal funding. There's never been any federal funding here. This is all comes out of the pockets of those of us who pay for time here, but also the other bills have to get paid every day, even when we're not here on Saturday.
And historically, isn't this radio station one of the few
that's licensed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only license. And you think about it, there's nowhere else in the city of Boston, in the state, where you can hear this type of conversation from folks that look like us.
Okay,
it just doesn't exist.
All right, well, let's remind the people again. What is it? Cash App?
Pastor Hobbs?
$ capital BPRTV.
All right. And speaking of that, there was an article, ironically, and I was going through some old papers, and I said, wow, this is dated. This is why this Thursday, February 5th, 2025. Oh. Right. And this is why things don't change except the calendar, right? And it talks about what do we do now, the 10 action steps for the next 4 years, right? And this was a year ago, and how relevant it is when this article was written, right? And this is the power of black boycotts being intentional, right? And there are 10 steps that they announced here. And step 1 would be to stay informed but not overwhelmed. We cannot tune out and sleepwalk into fascism. That's what I'm saying, right? And not just at the federal level. I think sometimes we get caught. Oh well,
we're in a
we have
democratic
state.
Well, we're in a blue state.
You can't tell me that communism effect isn't there when Michelle Wu is allowing Chinese communist flags to be raised in the city.
We're safe here. We're not safe
No,
here,
we're
folks.
not. It's just it's just different
Two
sides.
sides of the same coin.
Yes.
Can only
Two
do
sides
things
of
at
the
the
same
federal
coin.
level. They've raised taxes there for poor people and middle class.
Yeah,
Michelle Wu
lull
has
you
raised
in
the
with free
taxes
stuff.
here.
Yeah,
but that's exactly
same
how
thing.
communist countries work.
No such
They
free.
lull you in with quote unquote free stuff, so you're not sure, you don't know what's going on, distract you with all this other stuff, and then they just hammer you elsewhere.
Yeah. And it says, so the number one is stay informed but not overwhelmed. So don't try to do everything. Start by following your expertise and interests. 2, share truthful, factual information with friends and family. Is
Like
what
this
we're
radio
doing here.
station.
So you get it, what we're doing here, right? Part of the reason Trump is in office today is because the right wing built a media infrastructure to serve as an echo chamber of lies and misinformation. It's not your job to recirculate that propaganda. Instead, seek out reliable truthfulness, right? Number 3, raise your voice to elected officials. God, we've heard that before. I know it's old-fashioned, but visit the offices of the people representing you or write a letter. A study by the Open Gov Foundation during the Trump's first administration found that in-person visits, personal letters, and social media were the best tools for being heard by members of Congress. This is what Sigi talking about on the 27th, going down to City Hall, right? 4, and then we're going to get this call. Run for office, and then we'll get to the other 6. Run for office. The people in Congress, your state legislator, and the city council are no smarter than you, so launch your own campaign. Talk about the issues that resonate with you and your community. Raise some money, as we're trying to do here for this station, and run for office. Well, that's number 4. We're going to get to the other ones, but we're going to grab this call right quick. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Peace. Good morning. It's Jamal. But now, go ahead and continue.
Okay.
I want you.
Hold on a second.
All right.
Can we start off again with number 1? And then
Number 1, stay informed but not overwhelmed.
yes.
Number 2, share truthful, factual information with friends and family and followers. Number 3, raise your voice to elected officials. Number 4, run for office. Number 5, go to court. If your state attorney general or practicing attorney, you've probably already thought of this, but even if your government worker, federal contractor, private citizen adversely affected by right-wing MAGA policy. So like I said, we saw a Supreme Court decision yesterday, right? People went to court. They felt like their rights weren't. We have to be as intentional as saying thing. Reward the good. We have an economic power in where we spend our dollars. Punish the bad. List of companies capitulating to MAGA's anti-DEI threats is long. Target, Walmart, Meta, McDonald's, Ford, Coors, Amazon, Lowe's, Harley-Davidsons, and others are rolling back their DEI programs, right? So there's just a few that need to be named, right? Create a conscious culture. Now more than ever, we need music, film, art, TV culture, and institutions that reflect and protect us. You know, back in the day, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. You know,
Amen on that one, brother.
You know, so we have
Still
to
saying it.
get back to what worked for us. Organize for the short term. Donald Trump is 78, 79 now. That's why I said this is a year ago and how relevant it is today. We can't wait until the last minute to organize. And number 10, plan for the long game, right? So you have to have a long-term plan for doing this. And part of that long-term plan, the crisis is right now. Didn't happen overnight. Right-wing conservatives, they've been planning this for a long time, and what they've done is
Since the
once they
Civil
got
War. Let's just think
So
about
wait,
it. Since the
execute,
Civil War.
right.
After they executed Lincoln, and then they put Johnson back in, and he gave the South. And so everything since then subvertently has
since
been like,
Reconstruction.
yes, since Reconstruction has been like, we're going to get them back to be slaves.
Yeah.
All those written on paper that they're not, but we're going to make sure that we get free labor again. Okay, that's how they've been
and
working.
then you have the other side where you have your quote unquote democratic socialists / communists that are doing their own things to dismantle all our freedoms and so forth as well.
So Jamal, you know, it's just some of the things here. You know, they said the power of the black boycotts, be intentional, and then in there it also said, you know, it's important to start with that. I want us to find and live in our own versions of peace. There seems to be landmines and dumpsters at every theoretical corner, and that we walk or drive past. I wanted to speak on the recent and call for boycotting of Target and BJ's Wholesale Club as they have publicly rolled back on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that they have pledged back in 2020. See, short term, when Black Lives Matter, then now that, Trump said they don't, we're back to square one. Jamal, you wanted to...
Yeah, so one of the problems is
just one of them? Okay.
Right. No, I mean, but it's a major problem that affects all others. Is we are doomed in the world of what we know. So I think it was point 2 on there that said, spread to your family and friends, truth and accurate, things. But see, your truth might not be my truth.
Okay.
Okay. So great example now. Jesse Jackson just passed away. He is a hero and icon to some, and a scoundrel and a villain to others. Right?
Yeah.
So it depends on what information you have. And even some of the comments that I've been hearing today in regards to communism. Like, are we saying emphatically like Michelle Wu was a communist?
We're saying emphatic. I am saying emphatically that all the quote unquote democratic socialist / self-proclaimed communists that supported her and actually helped her with her campaign and helped to get her elected, and the fact that we have Chinese communist flags raised in the city of Boston are evidence of the fact that there is a communist influence there.
So I think as a former officer, I think you should know better than others.
You can't tell me what I know better than others. I know what I know.
Let's hear her side. Go ahead.
Well, I'm talking about the law. So when you utter things like that, those are strong charges, reminiscent of what happened, from what I have seen, to the Red Scare and McCarthyism and all this, because at least I don't know if any one of those people are communists.
They're self-proclaimed communists. They literally call themselves communists in their profiles and call themselves communists.
So
there's
Jamal,
no
have to see that.
charge there.
I haven't seen that.
I want to break away a little bit from that. I get it, because we could go back and forth on that all day. But I want to get your take and your thoughts on what you heard earlier, like with Cliff, the impact that this recent announcement of these teachers, the layoffs now. These are people who are not tenured. Because I think
this is kind of the point of what I'm saying, of like correct and accurate information.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I call it the myth of the black vote, the myth of the black boycott. So, for instance, every now and again we can get riled up over a particular issue, and we say we're never going to, Target, for instance, Target again. If we didn't shop anywhere that was racist or capitalist or whatever, that would be the best diet ever, because you can't go nowhere.
Right.
You say, I'm not stopping and shop, because, whatever. But you think Wegmans doesn't have the same problems, or this one or that one? So we're in a society and in a structure where if you're trying to avoid things that you might find abhorrent, it's going to be like trying to dodge raindrops.
So it sounds
because
like
the problem is the society that we're in.
What I hear you saying is the lesser of the evils, right? Is which one is which poison is not as potent as the other, right? Because there's none that's not going to be affecting you in a negative way, right? You always they always quickly skate over the side effects of the medication, right? They tell you what the good it's going to do for you, but then when they tell you about all the side effects, they say it so fast you don't even hear it. But to that point, though, I think we're in a different time, right? When back when I was growing up, and even earlier than that, it was in your face, the racism, right? And now I don't think people can identify it as easily as they used to, right? So a lot of these businesses would just have a sign out there that says, you have to use this entrance, or you can't sit here, you can't ride on this portion of the bus. We don't have that way of them putting it out there and exploiting it, but I don't think the conditions have changed much.
Well, but the conditioning has. So it's not so much that the initial abuse that happens, but it's now how people react to it. So, for instance, back in the 60s and 70s, let's say, an incident of, let's say, police brutality or an incident of racism, people would organize, have action, this type of thing. Nowadays, somebody will make a TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that some of our response to things have been diminished based on what we view now as effective or not. And it's also, too, about ability to gather a crowd. So the other side of, like, let's say, a black boycott is you say we're not spending our money here, is also to say, well, you know what? We're going to flood this black business over here, and we are going to spend our money here.
Mm-hmm.
But both things, I think, have a diminished capacity because at the end of the day, we're yelling in the wind. We effectively, we don't have the masses. We talk big, like we a big bully. We're going to boycott this store. Target don't give a doggone. They're doing just fine. You know what I mean? We don't have the numbers to actually, like crush it in the way that I think that we think we do.
No.
And on the flip side, we don't also have the masses to then give an instant infusion to change the trajectory of something, whether that's a business or voting or what have you. We don't have the numbers.
And Jamal, since the theme of today seems to be education, I'll give you two names: Cal Walsh and the Boston Urban Forum, that bills itself as a nonprofit, has had monthly events at Boston City Hall with known Chinese Communist Party members mediating events. And not even to speak of the fact that one of her biggest election campaign donors had strong ties to the Chinese Communist Party as well.
So, Jamal, Helen raises a point there. So I want to dive a little bit more into what you said and what Helen has just said. We're seeing an erosion on public sentiment when it comes to doing things that are in our best interest. For instance, right? We've been on this broadcast. Tomorrow there's a fundraiser here, and you when you were saying some of the things you were saying, I thought about them. Like, folks don't even support outlets that could be helpful to them, right? By donating to this station, right? But we complain when they're no longer there, or we complain when things are not going well. I thought, there would be certain lines that people would get people's attention, i.e. education of their children, right?
Education of themselves.
Right. Violence, healthcare. And I still don't see the sense of urgency to try to course correct what is happening here in the city. Not just here in the city, but really around this country. They've had all these celebrations. It'll have a few more because there's a couple more days left in the month. Black history, but Black history isn't just coming together in February, and someone, having a meal for them at City Hall.
Well, I mean, so once again, it's based on the information that you have. Black history to some is the equivalent of what I used to call like the Hallmark card Black history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, you get Phyllis Wheatley or something like, but nobody really goes, I don't want to say nobody, but many people don't go in depth, So if Black history was an entire school, an entire course, a lot of people are dealing with the kindergarten level of Black history. They're not going to the PhD level of Black history.
But to your point, Jamal, right? And Helen, you gave me a poster a while ago, and it had all these prominent Black women in there, right? And I have two daughters, and I went home, and my daughter, she put it in their play area, in their room, right? And we've gone through we've researched every single one of those women, and my daughter now they have a connection with them. So they've it wasn't just let's just put this poster on the wall.
No, but again, if you see yourself as someone that looks like you in a position, and it gives you, it inspires you.
Yeah.
It gives you hope. It's like I can be that person someday, and that's one of the
remember back in the day in school, little Johnny or little Sally, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was always, the cop, the firefighter, the astronaut, the nurse, the doctor.
Rapper. Now, rapper.
And exactly. Now it's rappers and ball players.
Right.
Or even worse, an influencer, which takes zero skill. Now you could talk about rapping and basketball without actually being able to do either.
Right. So I want to dive into the cultural piece, and I want to go with Helen, and I want to get the Rhodes as well, because I want to see, Helen, like in the Asian community, you're Asian American, and in Rhodes is a Haitian American. What are you seeing any difference in the population that you were raised in, as far as how they're dealing with?
And having been born in the city and grew apart in Chinatown, it's like I can see right now, it's like the fact that it's very close to me and my family. My grandfather was imprisoned in a work camp by a Chinese Communist Party. So we know the perils of communism and how much it can really tear at the fabric of society. And the fact that you have a mayor like Michelle Wu, not like Michelle Wu is in bed with someone like Gary Yu, who is part of the Chinese Communist intelligence. And you have the close ties to organizations that are coming directly from the Chinese Communist Party. It's like, and then you see all these things that are happening that are straight out of the communist playbook. It's evidence that stares at you right in the face. And I can't find a single person in Chinatown that's actually said they voted for Michelle Wu, other than the old elderly people that get bamboozled into just filling out whoever they told them to fill out.
So enough people voted for her to get elected. So Rhodes, also in the Haitian community, because like even at the federal level, Donald Trump and his machine were targeting. They said we're going to Ohio, and they were specific to target Haitian folks.
Yes.
Are you seeing a galvanizing of folks realizing, let's put our differences aside and work together with folks from Chinatown, from Roxbury?
I can't say personally I have seen it or whatever, but I do know that they're in the background. There are things going on like that. Okay. There are organizations getting together and saying, hey, we've got to work together here. And but again, I don't personally know of any different organizations, cultural organizations, but I know that as far as just to address the fact that Jamal was talking about the power of the boycott. It did work.
But different again, because you would you get on the bus and they tell you couldn't sit there, so you didn't. But understanding of it. No, good.
But even right now, the CEO of Target had to resign because of the backlash of the DEI.
Yeah, they saw
the $2 billion. They saw the decline in sales, and then so unfortunately, a lot of black people that had finally gotten their merchandise into Target were like begging people not to, but people were like, no, it's a matter of principle. Great, they're supporting your business, but we've got to understand that DEI is more than just your business. It's something that's, like you said, planned and organized for the long term.
And it's also about organization too. So Jamal, I would say again for the future, it's like if there's something that you don't know and you don't understand, I wouldn't go about throwing out accusations. I would make sure you educate yourself and ask if you don't know.
So
was that a serious comment?
That was a serious comment because you attacked my integrity and my accuracy with regards to what I know about communism, the Communist Party, and you don't know how it's affected my family and impacted people within the city.
Incorrect. What I spoke to was, as you being a former law enforcement officer, that about making statements like you've been making on these radio airwaves that are so definitive.
And you have said that you didn't see any of the evidence. So if you haven't seen it, you can't speak on it.
All right. So let's go ahead.
Hold on one more second. Based on what you said, right? So that's what we're basing it on. You yourself said this one has Gary Yu has ties to the Communist Party. You mentioned
widely reported Chinese Communist intelligence.
Once again, widely reported. So it's still not definitive that anyone has declared, "Hello, I'm a communist," and yes. Michelle
Actually, there are people that have declared the communists.
We're at the weekly communist
Calla
meeting.
Walsh.
So all I'm saying is that the way that you frame things is a wee bit dangerous, in my opinion. And no,
Education.
I don't need any checks on my own knowledge or education or understanding. So a lot of the times that you speak seems like to be very condescending, like you're the only person in the room who has all the knowledge. So God bless you. I will continue to learn.
Okay, so Jamal, I want to pivot to this crisis that we're having in the schools here in Boston, and how do we bring if there's one issue I think that folks who have children, even if you don't, I have no children in the school system, I have children that are in school. How do we get people to understand the consequences. When we were already competing against so many other different things, now we have on top of that we have AI, and now we have based. And I respect seniority, but we're going to have a gap between some of the younger teachers who are coming in with different perspectives, because it's going to be based on tenure, where we're just going to have a lot of teachers who have a lot of time on a job. But we know after we get to a certain point, how invested are we really in the kids, or looking towards getting our pension? So,
Larry, I'm just going to interrupt real quickly, just to respond to Jamal real quickly. So, Jamal, just so you know, it's part of us being educated in terms of reading from different sources, getting as much information as possible, and where things are reported. So that's what I'm sharing. Where the theme of this is to educate as much as we can, come from different sources. Larry just read from the banner, right? And we read from different papers in different areas, and we share the information that we find.
Well,
I don't use no reading. Gotta be out of your mind.
And that's why it's very important that about what Larry's saying with regards to education. Because what are all these newer teachers bringing to the table to the children of the city that they're going to be losing when you're losing that many teachers? Do we know how many teachers are being laid off?
We don't know the number, but we know we can just project somewhat based on the number of school closings, right?
So Larry, to your question, what I'm most concerned about is, in fact, a couple of things. One, this has been a persisting problem. When I went to high school way back in the doggone 80s, right? We didn't have paper. We didn't have books that we could take home. Or you had some books you could take home, but there was a lot of books that you couldn't take home. There were shortages then, pencils, paper, chalk in the classroom. And so this has been a persisting problem. In fact, in the great documentary Eyes on the Prize, you could see Jean McGuire when she talks about when she first was a teacher.
No, I get that. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I get that. I'm saying we've always had an issue with supplies, because I know my sister is a retired teacher, and she bought supplies on a regular basis every year. They never gave them enough. The teachers are almost, they don't get reimbursed. They all expect that they're going to have to dig in their pocket to pay for supplies. But I think where I'm trying to get it here is the number of teachers in particular. We know that usually the last hired, last fired. Like one school I was talking about is they're losing every male teacher of color in the building.
Well, and that's where I was going. So what I'm super concerned about is what has been a prevailing lack of black male teachers in the school system, for young black males to be able to see and have some sort of rapport with or what have you. Example. And then also too with the recently named Mel King School, with the loss of potentially so many special needs teachers.
It used to be the former McKinley School. But to that point, Joe, if I'm in college and I'm starting, or if I'm going to do a course correction, right? And I'm going to start looking at other majors, right? Why would I want to, as a male or even a female, why would I want to go into education with the uncertainty of whether or not I'm going to graduate with anything other than more debt, right? Without a job to go into.
And also knowing what opportunities and options are out there, right? You have not only college, you also have the military, which has a lot of benefits in and of itself. You also have trade schools, right? Like T. Michael Thomas is trying to make sure that people are educated in the trades. Also also knowing what are the different options that are out there as well is also just as important.
So Jamal, do you think it's time that the mayor and the city council moved on having an elected school committee rather than this appointed? Because this appointed one, I know Mayor Menino thought that would give him more leverage in turning things around. It hasn't worked under the Menino administration. It hasn't worked under the Walsh administration, and it is sure not working today under the current Wu administration.
This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, of the so-called perceived power of the black community. An issue we had been pushing for a while, right? We thought it was signed, sealed, and delivered because it was voted on overwhelmingly, not just black people, but people across the city. What was it, 72% said that there should be an elected school committee, right? But it hasn't happened. And that speaks to the limited power of, being able to put forth a proposal, but maybe not being able to see it finalized all the way. We're seeing some of the same problems in the police reform. From what we imagined and conceived to now what is actually, you know,
coming
being
to fruition,
implemented.
Yeah,
and
So,
and also
you know,
members of our community that have been getting defrauded and so forth. Like we have a situation where we had a former city council candidate, Cornell Mills, someone where they're like posing as a real estate broker and swindled thousands from potential home
but
buyers.
Jamal,
and you have people that, you know, take advantage of our community.
right. How do we?
right?
Yes, true. How do we capitalize on what we saw happen with? And I was telling people, that it was a difference of the parents who I find having worked in the schools, parents whose kids are in exam schools. I saw them. It's like parents whose kids are in Metco, right? We see a different learning. We see also a different involvement. The parents will go to the school. They will make sure, because there's an accountability. And when they were pushing to close the O'Brien and move it, that the reason why that didn't happen is because of the pushback. And part of that was they want that building for other purposes, because if they knew that it was going to be easy enough if they got the O'Brien out, Madison would just be a cakewalk.
It's like another variation of taking advantage of the people of this community in terms of what they know, what they don't know. And again, it's back to that theme of education, right?
Or are they
the more
willing
that you're
to-
aware of, the more that you learn, the more that your eyes are open
Are they
to.
willing to? So Jamal, let's grab this. Go ahead. I'll let you in and grab this call. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, nobody's going to argue, you know, that Boston public schools don't need to be better. But also, too, via the changing landscape of education and, you know, the departing rates and all this, there's probably, you know, 10 years down the road or something going to have to be a real discussion about what the future education, public education in Boston looks like, with the charters, the private schools, the religious schools, and so on.
I mean, they've eliminated MCAS, and they get that out of the way because they claim that was, you know, bogging down learning, and we're not seeing any improvement now that's going to affect. They're saying 1/3 of the seniors will not be able to walk across the stage with a diploma this year. That should be troubling to anyone, whether you have kids in there, because even if you don't, you live in the city, you're paying taxes almost $2 billion a year
for something that doesn't work.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean,
And again, it's going to be contributing to future crimes, recidivism, more people dependent on the system.
Or just pushing people out to where they're at the fringes of, you know, just economic stability, economic sustenance, like whatever it may be. And it's, again, another trademark of Mayor Michelle Wu's administration, where she makes all these promises, or straight up lies to the community, where she even lied about, you know, our own police commissioner Cox's background, about what his background was with regards to even just the history of the police department, that you can look up right on LinkedIn, right?
It's out
Stuff
there
like
for
that.
you.
Easy for you to confirm and verify.
Let's grab this call. Stand by, Jamal. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Yes, this is Boston elected, most hated, T. Michael Thomas.
Hey, T. Michael.
Good morning, T.
Good
Michael.
morning.
I wanted to touch, now, if you guys go back on some of the MAMLEO shows, I've been talking about the Madison Park. When Deval Patrick was running, I was up in Bar Harbor, Maine, and there were some individuals talking about their intentions to do with that building, and it's why I was stressing on building a trade school, and I was looked at, laughed at, and now it's all coming to fruition. Now, prime example, think about this. The elected officials will get behind weed dispensaries, liquor stores, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
There was not one trade school in Boston owned by a black entity. There are trade schools, but it's created for other entities. Now, I said that to say this. I've said it before. The black elected official that has to start there first, they are responsible. They're enabling what's happening because they represent their constituent, their community. What have they accomplished since in office that will support generations to come?
Well, I think you have to take representation out of that sentence, because there's no representation taking place, and this is why, like I said, we treat voting, sadly, in this state and in the city in particular, as a spectator sport, right? And you know, it's like the definition of insanity. We keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, right? I mean, most of these people don't even, if they have a challenger, it's not a serious challenger, somebody who, you just right off the bat, right? It's like something out of Looney Tunes, so people don't take them serious. But they're like, oh, I remember this name, right? And then you ask them, well, what have they done since they've been in office? Well, I don't know, but I know them. Well, how do you know them? I just know them, right? And that's the answer you get, right? So you can't even really have a conversation with someone and get an honest assessment as has their situation improved. Are they, following through on any of the promises they made? And a perfect example is this is a legitimate criticism of Mayor Wu. She said she identified a lot of the problems in the city, mass and caste, the cost of housing, education. Those were her staples. Those were three of her staples. And there's been zero improvement, in my opinion, on any of those areas, right? Because now mass and caste, let me just say this and I'll let you jump in, T. Mass and caste, because now that whatever they were trying to do down there didn't work, and now it is, if you don't accept treatment there, and the Globe just did an article on it, we're going to arrest you. And I thought that's not what that these people had a problem, right? It was a health crisis down there. Now it's back to you're a criminal, right? I'm trying to wrap my arms around what we're really doing here, because that's what people were saying. Now there's an enforcement component of it, the bigger part of it, if you don't accept by pressure to treatment. So go ahead, T. Finish your thoughts on this. And before I let you do that, also, they're having the telethon here tomorrow for the fundraiser, and I'm going to try to put you on the spot to maybe drop off something here that they could raffle off, during that time period, because you make some very good.
What time?
4 to 6 p.m.
4 to 6. Yeah, if something that they
tomorrow.
can go on air and then make that part of the one of your bracelets or something, just so that people can.
Definitely.
Donate
I will
to
definitely do something.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, finish it.
Yeah, what I wanted to bring is that I can play. When we were doing the Copper Man documentary, Michelle Wu was on film, talked about how great the program is, the benefit it is for the city. Michael is doing a great job. I don't need the praises, but she mentioned on film, admitted on film, as some of the other councilors, Larry, you are on it as well, but how great and the benefit this program is for the city.
Yeah.
I cannot name one thing that she has done since becoming mayor.
Right. I mean,
Right?
doesn't it?
She did
The
spend
same folks-
how many millions?
But also, T. Michael, I think in Jamal, I wanted to get your take on. I think it defies. It's a smack in the face, in my opinion, when you're laying off teachers and then you're spending $700,000 to bring in speech writers. I'm sure that the People's Academy could have benefited from that, but that could have also kept several of these teachers on staff rather than more speech writers for the mayor. If we're talking about everyone sharing in this pain, and also continuing with these free bus rides, there was no free ride.
Or even just the amount of money she's been
So
spending.
taxpayers
on
are paying for it.
and she's been spending a lot of money on making commercials too.
All you have to do is
For
say
people to break the
something
law.
free
Yeah.
or food
Yeah.
or anything like that, and you're drawing black folks.
Yeah.
This morning, I got a phone call from a mother asking me to help her son towards one of the trades. Imagine if we had our own right here in the community.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Jamal, your take on what T. Michael said, and also, this whole thing, because this is just the beginning of the pain, Like I said, my concern is our young people, because we've been, I know if it weren't for people who were older than me at the time when I was there, that was looking out for me, that made sure there was accountability, and even when I was going to school during busing, making sure that I was safe and waiting for me at the bus stop, and if they had to come up to that school and risk their lives if something happened, they were coming up there. We don't, and this isn't even that type of environment. You can walk into any school in the city of Boston, and yet it's declined in a way that I didn't see coming. I've seen it over the years, but this really almost seems like the end of an era.
Well, I tell you, first thing I learned from hearing T. Michael was I don't know where T. Michael is from originally, but boy, did he just say, I was up in Bar Harbor. It sounded like you were speaking Yiddish for a minute.
Maybe he's still at the bar. And
The Bahaba. Shalom, brother. Shalom. But for me, everybody knows T. Michael has, a great program and a great plan. Once again, to our ability to be able to, like, let's say we were building a nation. So we know T. Michael got the copper thing down, right?
Yeah.
But here in the city of Boston, then we would also should be able to then say, okay, and then hope he got the carpentry, and then this one got the plumbing, and then she got the this, and then, so that we can actually now be able to move industry. I don't believe, for me, that the future of Boston is going to continue to move in the, people call it silos, I'm going to say segmented industries, right? There has to be some interconnectivity between all of these industries so that, first, that would enable folks to go for, bids. You got a developer here, you got a contractor here, you got an architect here, you got legal over here, all these type of things. To be able to kind of form a super friends, if you will, of business or industry.
Right. So let me just say, and I want to get to Helen Rhodes' take on this as well. I think what we need is a priority, right? Because, we've had several people calling in today, and we've also, from our perspective here, we've had different areas where we feel there needs to be improvement, right? Sadiqi's talking about the renaming of the library. We've got Cliff talking about his friends impacted by the layoffs in the school. We have the schools that are closing. We have people talking about White Stadium, right? So we're in T. Michael, the People's Academy. We need to come up and say, not that yours is any less important than the others, but let's all focus on one. And if we can get that, then we move on to the next one, because doesn't seem like the needle is moving on any of them, because no one is willing to say that there's, not saying less important, but can wait until
you're absolutely right in that sense, that the fact that, again, the common denominator is the fact that there is one common enemy. And if you all are individually fighting like this, if you come together and you fight like this, it makes a big difference, because she can knock off and break every finger by themselves, but try to break a fist.
Right.
So again, if we unite.
Can I clarify something?
Sure.
This is important. For those who don't know, the People's Academy, it's not just about copper, even though this particular trade is the most needed trade on a historic global scale. But the People's Academy starts off with 4 different trades, but with also other career paths. The reason the focus is on copper, because I'm the founder and I'm a copper worker.
Right. No, that's not what we're not diminishing anything. That we have all the utmost love and respect for what you're doing, the work we're doing. We're just saying is that we're still operating in the
silos again. Right? We're not working together.
Right.
But actually, but that's what I'm saying. The People's Academy, it's a big tent.
It is. Okay. But here's the thing, and I'm going to let Rose. Right. Here's the thing, though, T. What I'm saying is that those of us here at the table are pretty versed in the People's Academy, including Jamal on the line. But the vast majority of people don't know that, right? And they're working on their issue is that how do we get around saying, okay, let's put all of this in the pot. It's almost like that hub.
I look at it, an analogy is like building a house. Okay,
right.
We've got the plumbing, we've got the electrical, we've got the windows.
We need the foundation. Exactly. Without that, none of this other stuff.
Let's just figure out how we're going to get the thing organized. What needs to be done first. We're not going to say what's more important, not important. It's all important.
So, because I think that, this is why I say I think the education component, right?
Absolutely.
Because this is our future, right?
You said, the foundation. If without that,
I can't send anyone to T. Michael for his training if they can't read.
Well, right. Okay. Case in point, I remember being was hired by the Providence Public Housing Authority to teach a computer course. None of the kids could read. I was like, okay, we're going to turn this into a reading course. Okay. Then you're going to get to touch computers.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. So that's
Let me interject this here.
Sure.
Black History Month, how appropriate. But you remember back in the day, there was a big debate between, not debate, but a big, conflict in the community between which philosophy was better. And, that was Booker T. Washington or W.E.B. Du Bois, right?
Yeah.
But remember now, Tuskegee University exactly got created.
Yeah.
And in terms of creating a university,
Yeah.
They don't teach just one subject. And then,
Correct.
of course, George Washington Carver came there, developed all forms of agriculture, so on and so forth. And even to this day, some of the stuff that George Washington Carver did had been on the most of all of the shuttles, and up until the last space shuttle that they put out of there with some of the polymers he developed with some of the soybean and so on and so forth. But in any event, my point is, like a Tuskegee University, one, we don't have a place like a massive spade of land. And how amazing is it that people all them years ago were able to do so much more with such less, and in the face of a much stronger.
But the commonality, Jamal, the common thread was they were working together. That's what we don't have today. And to that point, go ahead, because I got Siddiqui on the line. Go ahead, finish your thoughts. I'm going to bring him into the conversation.
No, bring Siddiqui in. I'll get new thoughts.
Okay. Good. Good morning. Welcome back, Siddiqui.
Yep. How you doing?
Good.
Glad to hear my ally on the line with me.
Okay.
Brother Jamal.
See, we're making progress.
And I just want to offer some clarification in terms of the issue around going down to the mayor and demanding the Nubian Library name.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, I think I mentioned the fact that when we went down there and demanded that she not move O'Brien.
Siddiqui, let me just jump in. Because I know where you're going. Let me just, because this is not, you didn't need any clarification. What I was saying, and I hope you took it in that manner, was how do we put all this into the pot, right?
That's what I'm addressing.
Okay, and then we figure out which one we're going to go with first,
Okay, so
and not that any of them are any less important, but how do we move this? Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that when we went down there, maybe it was a coincidence because the other folks were active, but shortly thereafter she said she was not going to move to O'Brien. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that the name change for the library, if the community comes together around that, that's an achievable victory, which symbolically will let other folks know, you know what, we can win some things out
right.
here.
With a name change, we need a game change.
That's why I'm saying that symbolically, it's more. The name change is more than just going after the name change. It's about saying, you know what, we can do something and win, and hopefully it would encourage other folks who are doing other things to say, wait a minute, we can do something here.
Well, see, this is why, Tidiki, I don't like to buy into this Black History Month thing, right? Because people feel like we got to get it done this month and then it's over with. No one, instead of treating it every day, our history, wherever your background is, your history is every day, not just a designated shortest month of the year. We're going to tell you that we love you, we care about you, right? We'll have a few events in your honor, and then at the end of the month, you're still in the same situation. Matter of fact, worse, right, than when you started your journey on February 1st.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is that right now, Mayor Wolf feels like, you know what, I can do what I want because there's no real force out here opposing whatever I'm doing. What I'm saying is that we get that. Say, look, we demand the Nubian Library name. It's more than just about the name. It's about the community coming together and saying, you know what, this is what we want, Mayor Wu, and the key would be we want, and then would encourage other folks to say, wait a minute.
But Siddiqui, you're right. But Siddiqui, here's the thing: you're bringing up all the right points. But because you know, right? You're a historian, but you've been around a little longer. Back then, you had our elected officials did that on our behalf. We really don't have that today.
Oh yeah, but like
a huge component is missing.
We know there's a bunch of puppets on the city council.
Right.
But the bottom line is the force is the people themselves making a statement, not them elected officials, because of the fact that the city council passed a resolution unanimously to change the name to Nubian Library. Of course, the mayor just ignored that. I'm saying if the people
like she did with the vote, people voted to have an elected school committee. This is what I'm saying is that, but what's the backlash from the voters, right? to that.
And I would say even more importantly, and to touch upon, Larry, you made a point about February being Black History Month, and we have May is going to be Asian Pacific Islander Month. It's like I say, treat every month like your History Month.
Exactly.
I went to a high school that literally had lost its accreditation, was on the fringes of losing its accreditation when I attended it, and I still got into the #1 entrepreneurial school at Babson, and I've had a few. Bless you. And I've had a few of the degrees since, like from BC to UMass to law school, and I now need to go forward despite people trying to hold me down. It's like, and I know, and so I understand that situation and that background of like coming through and pushing on forward as much as you can, despite all the trials and tribulations and everything that can happen, right? The adversities that can happen, and whether it be with the situation with the library and with the lack of like either spaces or whatever it may be, with and so forth, in terms of like holding our political leaders accountable, right? I believe in some ways.
I think we have to start with holding ourselves accountable first, because if we're holding ourselves accountable and going in there with the numbers and the mandate, that will, because they know that their job, when they realize that their situation is in jeopardy, that's the only thing that's going to move them. We've only got a couple of minutes. T-Mac, I want to give you a minute to round up what you say, because I want to get back to...
Quick thing.
Yeah.
My thing is that for the elected officials, the mayor and the city decide, don't support T. Michael financially to build this building. I went out, I got my own money to build a building.
Mm-hmm.
Why they continue to try to put obstacles in my way from building this school?
Because you're an independent.
Hey, T. Michael, name names. Hold those people accountable for what they're doing.
Why, T. Michael, why they're putting obstacles in MAMLEO putting up theirs? Because anything that's independent.
Remember, what was it, Mayor Menino, right? Mayor Michelle Wu's mentor there would come by. Wouldn't he ticket every time the grass got too tall?
But to his credit, though,
found ways to stop the building?
Menino would, but and Mayor Walsh was working with us to get it done. All right, we're gonna have to get you in studio, T, and bring the aisle. Siddiqui, go ahead. Yep.
I'll close this by saying, everybody come down to Boston City Hall, 5th floor on the 27th, and I can tell you right now, we'll get the mayor's attention.
27th.
We'll be listening to T. Michael and
11 a.m.
Right now,
right?
she doesn't have
11 a.m. 27th.
All right.
So it's not just about the name change. That's a
no. We're not discrediting.
Free hugs and kisses.
That's not what we're saying. We're saying is that that we need to get we need to almost kind of do a hub type of thing.
Yep.
Get everything in there, and let's see what we can work on together to get all of these things.
That's the point I'm making. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying symbolically we get that name change.
Absolutely.
It's bringing everybody together, saying this is what we want. And we'll get the mayor's attention.
All right.
If the mayor ain't going to give you those free hugs and kisses,
27th. That's next Friday. Siddiqui?
Yes, next Friday.
Friday the 27th, 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
The broadcast, so we can't put it. So we just want to make sure we won't be able to put it out. And then City Council Ed Flynn is going to be here next. Yeah, City Council Ed Flynn is going to be here next Saturday. So we'll have to follow.
We'll see if we can get Mahia here as well.
Yeah,
too.
Julia
Mahia.
Yes. That's at City Hall. T. Michael. Too bad the buses aren't free to go. You notice they don't have the buses free to go to City Hall, so you can get in there. That's what it should be free.
It should.
Thank
That's
you.
a good idea.
Jamal, close us out, brother. Did we lose Jamal?
We'll make our closing comments.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I would say, yeah. So if any of our listeners there, if you're looking for information with regards to different opportunities, I know between all of us and our various backgrounds, Larry's been, a cop. I've been a cop. I work in fraud investigations right now. I'm managing for about a third of the country. I've worked in a whole bunch of different areas. If you want to learn more about the opportunities that are out there, we're here to educate each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Feel free to
and
call
Pastor
in.
Quickly, tomorrow's event.
4 to 6 telethon right here on Boston Praise Radio TV Network on $capital BPR TV. You can support even now.
There you go.
All right. Again, as Dr. Bradley would say, since I'm sitting in this seat, be blessed.
All right.
Yeah, and we're here to give you accurate news. Yes. We all of us are here with our integrity.
Exactly. You still with the Amazon?
Speak the truth. Mm-hmm.
Education.
Anything is possible as long as you work hard. What's real? So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. I wrote 300 songs in 1 year, Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game, it ain't a challenge. If your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies, you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping, why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'. You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst. And the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks. This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer. Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the